What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Diablo retrospective kind of review thing. I don't know how to really explain this, but you read the title of the video. I want to go through something very important before the new season of Diablo 4 drops in literally about 2 days now, as I'm recording this. But Nephilim Rifts were a thing in Diablo 3 where after the end game and just the campaign in general, like the end game of the campaign, you unlocked adventure mode, and in that you could activate bounty caches, you could go level up your character even more with paragon points, and you can activate Nephilim Rifts, which were basically like mini dungeons where you'd kill a set amount of enemies on separate floors of a dungeon, and at the very end you got to kill the Nephilim Rift Guardian, which is like the big boss at the time, and you can kill it to get either legendary loot, greater rift keystones, which give you access to greater rifts where you can challenge your skill and difficulty, which ties into exactly what nightmare dungeons do on a different scale. The difference is in this video that I think Nephilim Rifts were better than Nightmare Dungeons currently are, even though they are going to get a significant update in the new Diablo 4 season. But let's talk about Nephilim Rifts for a second. So basically you run through this gauntlet and it was just you versus the enemy. There was no tasks involved, there was no events. I mean, you may get an event in like a cursed chest event, but it does also count towards the Nephilim Rift progression. It didn't like separate its own thing like in Diablo 4 does. And with that, it was very easy to just blitz through bosses, enemies, unlock great rift keystones, and then work your way through the tiers. Each tier being high difficulty, so like 1 to 5 was normal mode, 5 to 10 hard mode, 10 to 15 like expert. I think it was something like that. My biggest one was like I think tier 53 with my wizard, like Torment 2, 3. So I wasn't exactly that educated, but it was a good way to up your gear, unlock set armor pieces for set skills and set builds that you could use. My personal favorite being my Hydra Fire Wizard in Diablo 3, which I'm probably using on the screen anyway for gameplay, but I'll probably have a run through the armor at some point in a video. But enough about my characters. The concept is very basic, but it's very effective. It was very effective. Obviously it's repetitive at the end game because you're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, which it's the same thing as Nightmare Dungeons in Diablo 4, but my problem with Diablo 4's Nightmare Dungeons was you were constantly doing the Nightmare Dungeon itself, like the event. So you like either kill enemies or destroy 3 towers and then move on to another section. It wasn't anything about killing enemies. Like if you were lucky, it'd be kill enemies in this zone and then go into the next zone and fight the boss straight away, which is pretty dumb in my opinion. I didn't really want to be a fan of going around like freeing prisoners or just slaying like a certain enemy and then unlocking a key to go to the next stage to kill a boss, something like that, you know what I mean? It was just very confusing. But for me, I would rather it just be you go from point A to point B, kill every enemy in sight and work your way through it like Nephilim Rifts did, with different floors, or maybe like it resets every time you go through and it has a harder scale depending on your tier, like maybe like 25% less damage or 25% more damage against you. Stuff like that, right? Just something to entice it. And I guess the only good thing about Nightmare Dungeons for me is you could essentially pick or choose what affix you want in it. So if I had, say, a level 50 dungeon that had, say, physical damage upgrades, but it restricted my vulnerable resistance in a way, like you'll see it on the screen. Basically, it has a bunch of prefixes, and you can pick and choose which tier you want to do it in and what dungeon it's in. Obviously you have to be lucky and get the drop itself, which is another problem itself because you have to craft the sigils for a chance of getting the prefix for you. I'd rather it be a system where if you're going to make the dungeons the same, let me craft it exactly how I want, even if it costs more materials. Like I'd rather have a Nightmare Dungeon that I can breeze in about 1 or 2 minutes. I can keep repeating, obviously for XP and loot and maybe unique items as well, depending on my difficulty, just to make it more entertaining for people, because I don't really want to sit there for 20 minutes trying to find one enemy in a dungeon because I've gone through the whole map geometry, couldn't find it, and it's sat in a little corner, and it won't give me the completion until every enemy is dead. No one wants that, Blizzard. Nobody cares about that. But I personally prefer Nephilim Rifts over Nightmare Dungeons. Maybe Season 2 will change my opinion on that, because I'm actually going to play Season 2, because I actually am kind of on the hopeful side of Diablo 4 right now. I know a lot of people have left the game or are only coming back to see what the changes are, and if they're shit, they're ducking off to Lost Ark, Path of Exile, maybe even WoW or something. But I'm sticking around, so I'm hoping Blizzard actually fixes it and figures out what the fuck they're doing, because if not, we're in deep, deep trouble, my friends. We're in deep trouble. But that's enough from me. I'll see you later.